Hello, and thank you for having a listen to this week's episode of Secure Insights with NDK Cyber. So, many of you may know NDK Cyber are first and foremost a cybersecurity recruitment company. We specialize in those tricky to fill roles, niche locations, or if you're scaling rapidly in a certain area, I'm sure we've done it before and we might be able to help you do the same sort of thing. Now, we started the Secure Insights series really as a way to shine a light in important areas, to tackle hot subjects within the industry, and really to give people a platform to tell some pretty cool stories. So this week I was very excited to be joined by Kunal Agarwal. Kunal is the founder and the CEO of Dope.Security. Now I'll let him get into where Dope are at and how they fit into the market, but it's really all around secure web gateways. Now we do get into that, of course, and what they're doing differently, but we also talk about generally around challenging the status quo on legacy technologies, how that's received in the market, advice for doing that going forward if you're thinking of doing the same sort of thing, whether that's marketing or storytelling or however that might fit into your plan. So very excited to share this one. Kunal's a super cool guy. Hope you enjoy and open to the feedback as always. We are live. Well, Kunal, thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, happy to be here, James. I mean, over here from California all the way to Europe, right? So it's really nice to catch up, especially now.
Indeed, indeed. So, Kunal, I would have given you an introduction there on the intro, but it probably wouldn't have done it justice given your background and what you do. Are you okay just to walk us through a snapshot of what you're up to?
Yeah, so Kunal Agarwal, I started Dope Security about 4.5 years ago. I think previous to that, I was in product management at a couple of different, much larger cybersecurity companies. So if you've been around, you know Symantec, Blue Coat, ForcePoint, WebSense. And after that, kind of took those learnings and developed something new. Like you learned all kinds of things at these big companies, right? I mean, honestly, I like to tell people I went to UC Berkeley for undergrad and then University of California, Symantec for my master's. But the idea is that like if you take those things, you kind of see, hey, this is what like enterprise cyber companies typically do. It's probably what we should evolve or change or make better.
Got you, got you. And so, where did you mentioned there you have him with those huge logos and they're
Yeah.
household names in the cybersecurity space. Was starting your own thing always on your mind, or was it just like an aha moment one day? How did this all come to be?
Yeah, not really. I mean, honestly, I always loved working at Symantec because you're working with people that discover, unravel malware. Those people still exist at these companies, right? You just don't know about it, obviously, because of who people are using, but they still exist, right? And they're still doing a great job protecting the world from cyber attacks. But I saw this kind of like idea when Cylance and Carbon Black kind of came out. They stuck a nail in the coffin for Symantec. It was like, hey, everyone started to have a problem. This started to become a bigger thing. Then CrowdStrike kind of put the nail into the last nail in the coffin with Symantec and McAfee. And that was probably like, well, if I ever did a startup, I would do it just like this, right? I would do it in this zone like that where you're actually causing a big problem with bigger companies. And the way in which you do that is at the heart and core of what Dope Security is. Like go in, build a great, beautiful product, and change how like a customer will partner with a product company as well.
Understood, understood. And we'll get into sort of the full ins and outs of Dope security for sure. But yeah, I guess the overall problem that Dope looks at is all around secure web gateways, right?
Yeah, so I mean, well, one, I would say the name Dope Security is a little bit weird to people,
Yeah,
because it
actually, that's
always
a really
comes
good
up.
point. How do we get there? Let's jump into
Yeah,
that.
I mean, so I think when people look at that word dope, they're like, oh, maybe it's unserious. And I think every word has different etymology, as you're probably very well aware. So in the Bay Area and California in general, we say dope every 5 minutes, right? So every
Okay.
5 minutes, we say, hey, something is dope. You'd be surprised, but you're like, oh, that's like a dope coffee shop. Or yeah, dope, I'll see you there. Like literally, that's how we talk. And
Okay.
so to take that mentality of saying, hey, amazing or awesome or great, like that's sounds good. That's what we wanted to bring to cybersecurity. And so on the cybersecurity side, people look at product companies that should be looked at as like brands. And for us, Dope is a brand. So one, it's passion. Every single person in the company is incredibly passionate about building an amazing product here. We all came from Symantec, ForcePoint, all these big companies came together to build this. Two, we have an insane focus on user experience and design. That's super duper important to us. And then I would say last but not least, there's this like attention to detail when you really focus and hone in on it that's missing in cyber sometimes. I mean, I can give you a simple example, right? If you went through like most cybersecurity product documentation, you will lose your mind. Like you will actually lose your mind.
In
I
what sense?
I know I know that's not your day-to-day job, but like literally, if you went to most of these product companies, it's so difficult to get it up and running. You're just gonna be like, Kunal, I give up.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's why there's this whole business around cybersecurity services is to help bridge the gap between really bad product design
Mhm.
and getting it up and running.
Understood. So that user experience is something you just zero in on. That's quite a Silicon Valley-esque mindset, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm born and raised here in the Bay Area, like been here my whole life. And in general, I would think like design and entertainment and also just creativity, it formulates in different parts in the world. Nobody really knows why, but I would say like one here in California, obviously there's a ton of creativity in terms of like the Hollywood and entertainment, music, and so on and so forth. Um, Another one of our key product locations is in Cork, Ireland.
Mm.
So I would say I'm like really proud that Cork is one of our areas because that's when where tons of famous actors have born and actually like even Oscar award winning Irish actors are from there. So that's been pretty cool. And I'll say last but not least is Bombay in India or just India in general. It's like, hey, it's like a lot of entertainment and movies and so on and so forth. So a lot of that like creativity comes into the product as well, James. So like imagine when you're building something, how do you make it one step less? When you're building a new feature, how do you, instead of trying to build something that new, how do you make sure that the existing feature can work in the way that you originally intended?
Love that. And I guess just as a sort of a fairly fun side tangent, what you've just talked about there, all the entertainment and sort of the, I guess, more creative arts, that seems to bleed into your branding quite a lot. For those that have seen you on LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever it might be, you've got Cybertrucks, you've got, what was that racing car, that the radical race car thing
Yeah,
going
so
on
like
here?
a friend of mine, Matt, he's a CISO over in UK actually at NIQ, and so he was like, "Kunal, we should just like wrap my car." And I'm like, "Sounds good, man. We'll go nuts." And so our I would say like everyone in the company tries to have a little bit of that branding and marketing kind of a brain inside of them, and so that's what probably ends up making it possible to do all this stuff.
No, that's cool, man. That's cool. And I think yeah, there's a lot to be said around making the user experience that much easier. And if you look at what I don't know, maybe I'm getting outside my lane slightly here, but what AI has enabled the quote unquote average user to do with natural language, if we can do that in other areas and just making it overall user friendly, that must win huge amounts of just buy-in in that sales process and everything else, right?
Yeah, it is nice, right? Like right now, when we go to a customer, it's on not always every time the case, but like if you went to a customer, you have a conversation, you're like, hey, would you like to get started right now and get this
Mm.
up and running on your one device right now? If the answer is yes, today most products can't do that, right? You have to go in, go through this like massive training process, provision this test tenant that will then be trashed and you'll get a production tenant later. There's this whole process associated with it, which doesn't actually have to exist. And I think that that is where we have our own sort of secret sauce, if you will, on building something that can just be easily used and implemented without you having like huge amounts of effort required.
Yeah, I think it goes a hell of a long way. Yeah, even in the light touch stuff that we do, I think the easier it can be, the better for everybody. And then when it comes
Yeah,
to what the platform does, then, so we're looking at secure web gateways here, right? That's the whole where it all
yeah,
started.
yeah. So like, I mean, there's different areas of cyber that obviously are very popularized, and you can call it whatever the term is for the day or the age or the year, but like ultimately, this is a web filter, right? And that's the mainline product is can you perform parental controls on your employees? And if you can, and you can basically restrict them from going to certain websites, that's really what a web gateway is. Now, there's some fancier features like SSL inspection, blocking personal Gmail, blocking personal ChatGPT. figuring out what people are using. Like there's a lot of other stuff, doing DLP. All those things are important, right? But the core functionality is, can I go to thepiratebay.org on my laptop, on my work laptop?
The
And the
Pirate
answer is
Bay.
yeah. I mean, it's a risk to the organization and so on and so forth. So yeah, exactly.
Understood. Okay, cool. And I guess before dope or pre-dope, secure web gateways or this whole system as you describe it here, what was the kind of, I guess, the issues, the problems people were facing with legacy systems?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I look back 20 years ago, this was like a box in your office, right? And then you look at 10, 15 years ago, people said, hey, it's kind of annoying to install that box in every single office around the world. What if we just took that box and then put it in a data center and then offered it as a service? And so that was the kind of Gen 2 of this area of cyber. And then we've just kind of taken this Gen 3 approach, which is like, hey, you still have this like cloud console where you configure everything, but the actual processing itself can happen on the laptop itself. So you don't have to reroute your internet traffic to some random data center and then from there to the internet, which is a very weird concept to people. I mean, like I'm sure you can imagine. I know you've heard of a lot of our competitors, like I mentioned my old company, Semantic Force Point, but also there's also organizations like, for example, Zscaler, Netscope. That's what they do every day, James. I mean, you take your laptop, you send literally your entire internet traffic to a data center, and then from there to the internet, which is wild, right? Like, would you take a
Yeah,
stopover flight from like, you're going from London to Frankfurt? Why would you stop over in Paris for a cybersecurity check? Makes no sense. And
right.
that's the way that these products work today. It's even worse around the world, right? Imagine you're in India and then you're sending your internet traffic to Singapore just to get a security check, and then you're sending it back to India.
It does seem a little backwards, and I get that there must have been a need for it when this all happened at first and things, but I don't know. It just my brain goes geopolitical issues, data issues, reliability.
So
Is that
reliability is, yeah, I mean, reliability and performance are huge drivers for people moving to dope security, because they're like, hey, we have a business problem where we have like this random user who's not having internet access. There's a reliability problem. Or we have 10,000, 100,000 employees and all their laptops are intermittently having a problem. When they're in an IPv6 network, it doesn't work properly. When they connect to this VPN, it doesn't work properly. And you're kind of playing whack-a-mole. And so what ends up happening, and by the way, this is not, I wouldn't say this is very empirical because it's extremely anecdotal, but like I was the PM for these products in my last companies, right? I saw these problems every single day, James, every day. And we were dealing with them and sort of like plugging the problems. It was like plugging problems while you were sinking ship, right? And by the way, meanwhile, these data centers cost a lot of money to run. So what do? Well, there's not much option. You just keep plugging the problems.
wow? So there's
And
also a cost thing here as well of we don't have to pay
yeah,
data
yeah,
center
yeah.
costs. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? Like, so this comes up all often, but how many gigabytes do you think that you send through your internet every on your laptop, maybe every week, right?
I've
Maybe
got
at
no
least
idea. Yeah.
5, maybe 10, maybe 20. We have like some people, they do like 50 gigabytes a week,
Wow.
right? And like, I don't know what the highest has ever been, but I'm sure it's crossed 100 GB. But like, and that's probably they're downloading large files, who knows, right? But let's just say it's on average 10, right? Just generally doing whatever. Like if that 10 gigabytes is happening on a weekly basis and you have 100,000 laptops connecting to the same data center, obviously you're going to need multiple gigabit throughput, this thing, that thing, switches you have to install, VMware boxes, you have to stack, rack and stack. It's crazy. I mean, why are you doing that in a modern world? Why are you doing that in 2025?
Mm. I got to
Makes
admit, when
sense.
I saw like some of the material and the explainer video, I think there's like a 2 minute explainer video that summed it all up perfectly. And I kind of thought, oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know why this is more commonplace, maybe.
Yeah, it's like naturally as part of the the marketing strategy, you have to kind of explain something. So if there's one takeaway for anyone, we say, what's dope security? It's fly direct. No stopovers, it just works, right? So fly direct are the two words that we usually want people to take across. Makes sense. It's like a good analogy. But if you actually get down into the details of what we do, and you look beyond like, hey, there's a new technology or new way of doing things. It's actually a very, very, very good reason we're doing this. Like, and I could name numerous problems that you run into if you don't do it like this. And honestly, yeah, I mean, customers just have to live with it. They're almost under this like Stockholm syndrome where they have to deal with these problems. And yeah, I mean, it's not like world is not ending. The products work, but could it be better? Yeah, of course it could, right?
That's interesting. Do you find then yourself or your sales teams are doing a lot of education and evangelism around what, the grass could be greener on the other side then?
I think people are like very quick to understand why there's a benefit, right? Like, for example, when you went and you saw this, like, oh, I don't understand why this was not done already, right? And so for us as an organization, like we're entering, I mean, this is year 4, right? In a 10-year journey. And we need to educate lots of different people around how the product works and why it works and what's so great about it and so on and so forth. But like that all takes time, right? And it also takes a little bit of I like to call it, do you have a seat at the table, right? If you and I are chatting and you're talking to a potential customer, they may not even know that dope security exists. And that's the reality, is that probably 8 or 9 out of 10 cyber buyers in the world don't know that dope exists. It still takes
Wow.
time.
Yeah, of course. But like you say, 4 years in, there's funding coming through, you're clearly acquiring customers. Who's, I guess, who does this kind of solution benefit then? Is it for everybody or just enterprise? Or?
Yeah, I mean, most of the customers end up being like you know, an organization of like relatively scale, but we have customers everywhere from a couple hundred people at the company to 1,000 to 5,000. Some are 10,000 plus, some are 100,000 plus employees. So it's really up and down the scale. But the main thing that connects everyone together, whether you're a Fortune 100 or an organization that funds some of the best companies in the world, is that like these organizations need a very beautiful, easy to use experience with the modern architecture, and they're willing and able to take something new and establish like an amazing relationship with us, because they're like, well, why would I go for the Zscaler, pay twice as much, and instead I can go for this dope security where it's faster, more reliable, and it saves me a little bit on the cost, where everyone today in today's world, they're trying to look at some way to save a little bit on the operational expenses.
Mm. Do you think that comes down to, like you said before, the seat at the table, having the logo, being the person that's talked about in the room to a point?
Of course. I mean, like this is so I've personally learned that there's new areas of cyber, right? Where you're kind of trying to establish yourself by, kind of understanding the need and explaining the need for it, which is what you kind of mentioned earlier. And there's a separate area, which is like, hey, there's actually aspects to what you have today that could be evolved or evolutionized. And that's what we're trying to do, which is more rare, I would say, on the cyber side, because a lot of people are looking after, hey, there's this new issue that's coming around. Let's create a product or a tool, technology to help you solve that. Versus we are like, hey, there's an existing area of people that use this. Let's just make that better.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, cool. And I wanted to get your take as well on the whole like geopolitical landscape, not to get your commentary on politics necessarily, but more of the, with this whole fly direct model here, if you're having data centers all around the world, would I be correct in thinking this removes that any sort of giving your data to other geographies, countries, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I ultimately, if I have like a data center in, let's call it London, Heathrow,
Mm,
the Heathrow area has a few data centers, like an Equinix data center, for example. Like
mm.
me sending the traffic from California to that data center because of some reason, maybe I'm sitting in UK somewhere or whatever, or I'm in France and it's just going there. It's fine. I mean, there is a level of security that people do and build, but I think if it doesn't have to be done, why are you doing it? Right. I mean, I don't want to overplay like, oh yeah, somebody's gonna be able to, jack the server out of the thing and then open it up and inspect all your
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I mean, that's a little, far-fetched, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I view it, at least.
understood. And you must have some, a couple of good maybe war stories of people that have come over from this and had some pretty solid experiences, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people that we talk to and that are customers of ours, or even internal engineers and product managers, like Aiden, who's our product head of product, he and I have worked together for ages, right? And so when we look at a problem, we almost have this like library encyclopedia of previous experience to draw on. It's helpful, right? Because we can both go in and say, hey, what are the problems that are about to happen? And I can give you very simple ones, right? Like, so, we went in a couple of months ago and started to consistently test Mac 26, which is a new build that's releasing soon, um, which is very important, right? If I have Mac 26 and I'm not supporting it, and Apple releases today, and it's going to be a problem, right? Because people will upgrade and then the product doesn't work. So we spent the time and energy to make sure that we're constantly testing with each beta release and make sure that we're not breaking every single time.
Got you. So always ahead of the game.
Yeah. So like you, I mean, I would say ahead of the game in the sense you just have to do it. This is like this is a must have, right? There's a bare necessity at now. You can't ignore the beta releases of an Apple major release.
No, of course, of course. And what about, we speak to some organizations and they talk about that in kind of similar spaces of, we've taken them from legacy X to, modern Y, and it's just been a game changer for them for cost or just reliability, whatever it might be. Anything in there that sort of springs to mind of a Christ, yeah, we really help those guys out?
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's organizations where we've saved them half on their renewal, so they save millions plus per year.
Wow.
But, million plus for a large organization, obviously that's monumental. Um, and then for a small organization, even 100K matters, right? So
Mm.
typically, I would say like one of the reasons why we have a very value-driven product is because it works really well. It does what it needs to do, and it works amazingly. I think one of the reasons why we have like our cost not like equivalent to other people is because we're like, look, let's take some of those savings and pass it on to the consumer as well, right? And make sure you get a great product versus us like trying to price gouge you.
No, of course, of course. And so where are we at then? We're 4 years in over. We've had funding. We've got the
Yeah,
US.
we
We've
have like
got
a
core,
hundred.
Bombay,
Yeah,
Bombay.
100 customers. Most of our team members are in either in the US, mostly engineering is in Ireland, and in India. And so pretty much a worldwide organization. We have devices in over 83 countries around the world. So the solution itself is very comprehensive. Everywhere from China to Saudi to Egypt to South Africa, Nigeria, you name it, we're there. And what's nice is that you get a consistent end user experience no matter where you are in the world. So like dope ultimately it is that user experience. It is that passion. We say that on every single one of our t-shirts and jackets. I'm not wearing one today, but there's a bunch online. So, you kind of go in and we tell people every day, like this is what we do differently.
That's awesome. And so that's where we're at. And there's some hell of a lot of accolades in there already. You mentioned earlier in the call around we're year 4 into year 10. So the next 2 years or year, what does that look like? What are you sort of looking at here?
I think like for us, we're looking at like from here an inflection point, right? One is that we've increased sales, we've recruited more and more VARs and partners and resellers to basically look at our technology and take that to their own customers. We pretty much only sell through the channel, right? So, and our goal is to make sure every 100% of deals are sold through that channel. And by doing so, we've seen these people bring us deals where they're like, hey, we probably wouldn't have had a seat at the table, like I mentioned earlier. So it's nice. It's been nice. You go from when I look at a year ago to now, it's almost triple or quadruple the amount of customer meetings we're having on a day-to-day basis.
Wow, through a channel first approach.
Yeah, I mean, we have to do that because this is a very, a bread and butter solution, right? Like a lot of people have a need, and by using the channel, we're able to go in and make sure that we can spread ourselves out there and not just be, a one-to-one relationship driven thing.
Yeah, nice. What are you excited about going forward?
I mean, for us, there's a ton of new technology we're building every day, but every single time we release something on the marketing side, it's kind of fun. Every time we implement net new technologies, we have the dopamine DLP, which uses LLMs to do data classification instead of using regexes, which is how things are done in the past. That's kind of cool. I think like nobody expected this 10 years ago, right? But the reality is that most DLP technologies, they still depend on these pattern matches, right? To be done. And it's like a very 20-year-old technology, regexes, which is fine. There's a good time and place for that. But if I'm trying to do DLP and I'm trying to determine whether like a vaccine report is healthcare information, it's kind of difficult to do that by searching for phrases, right? Oh, this is like a 7-digit number. It must be an NPI number. Like that's not realistic, right? Any 7-digit number can be anything out there. So there's a lot of new things that we've done there. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think generally, meeting people like yourself and working together is also pretty cool as well. That's really nice. So overall, as a company, we just do a lot to make sure it's like stay with and current what's going on.
Yeah, nice. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and feel free to go as broad or as deep on this as you like. But being a CEO and founder in this space that's, like you said, challenging the status quo on an existing technology stack, there's a few other people in sort of similar boats at the moment that are sort of going through various different challenges. Is there anything or any advice you'd maybe give to people in those shoes of, okay, we're looking to challenge the status quo. I've got a technology, I know it works. Where on earth do I go from here?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the stage, right? Like, it depends on, are you trying to build something? Are you thinking about building something? Or have you already built something and now you're trying to get it out there? Every single part requires something different. I think, like, for us, I mean, the biggest learning I would say I've had is really about keeping the old contacts and the old relationships that you've made over the years, right? It's very easy for 10 years ago for us to have had a customer meeting with 5 customers a day. Literally every day there was at least 5, 7, 10 customers in the EBC at Symantec. And I think like one of the biggest things that I should have done better is, hey, I was sitting in front of these customers. I was a PM. Could have easily had a relationship with all of them, right? Which I did, some of them, but I could have done it with more. I think to your own point, like if you're trying to go in and challenge an existing area and go in and do that, you have to assume that somebody's better than you at every area, right? If you're good at product, somebody's better than you at product. If you're good at sales, somebody's better than you at sales.
That's interesting. Yeah. So ultimately, it's the people part of the puzzle is still a big piece, eh?
Well, I mean, that was one thing that I didn't know, right? Like, I mean, I assumed in the beginning that I was like, well, I guess we'll just go in and build it and we'll build together the stuff from there. But would it have been very, very helpful if I had gone in and had every single one of those people that I used to help on a regular basis, if I had had all their contacts and kept in touch with them. I mean, LinkedIn obviously helps a lot with this now, but like back then, like you wouldn't really immediately say, hey, let me add this person on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it has kind of changed in that way, especially I think kind of COVID seems to have helped that a little bit, and we kind of stuck with that. But then there's also the rise of the in-person stuff again, which is really nice to see, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think also cybersecurity in general is an extremely competitive business, not because you're competing against 50 different competitors, but you're competing against 5,000, 10,000 share of mind, right? And so for dope security to stand out, that's what we are trying to do. But not everyone is going to be able to do that, right? So for you to stand out, what is that going to be, that unique thing that you'll be able to do?
That's awesome. Well, Kunal, thank you so much for running through that. I know we touched on 1,000 different areas there, and there's probably a few episodes on the back of this we could do in just those areas alone. But appreciate your time and everything. I'm excited to get this out.
Yeah, absolutely. James, thanks so much. And hopefully looking forward to getting an espresso with you in person.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thanks, man.